Yeah, so. Welcome you all to the second comp plan advisory committee meeting. We have a new planner here with us today. Carter Bullock is the new staff here. He's going to be helping out quite a bit. Let's go around and do a quick introduction just so we are all together.
My name is Jolie Ansari, local architect. I have my office in Bellevue.
Connor Nevin, architect in training, work with Joanne, environmental architecture.
Dana Topel, I have lived in Bellevue for 3.5 years up in the Straighthorn subdivision. Awesome.
Tom Blanchard, and I live in Lower Broadford Road, but it's in Bellevue. We're across the river. A disconnected portion, so to speak, and I've been here about 50 years.
Chris Connolly, I'm the director for Blaine County Housing Authority. I grew up in the Wood River Valley.
Michael Costello, live here in Bellevue, in the next phase of life, not working. But I used to do large general construction management, and mechanical.
Great.
Mark Davidson, Blaine County Recreation District.
Okay, and then online, Andrea.
I'm Andrea Hernandez. I'm the marketing communications manager for Mountain Rides.
Okay, Evan.
Hi, Evan Stelma. I live in Chantrell, and we've lived down here like 50 years.
Amanda.
I'm Amanda I'm the executive director of Project Bigwood and a resident of Bellevue.
And then Jose.
Oh, hi, I'm Jose Baez. I'm a resident here in Blaine County since '94, and I've been living in Bellevue for the last five years at Sunrise Ranch, and have a small business and work for the school district.
Great. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, my email, I got a little behind on other things over the last few weeks. Didn't have a whole lot of time to put materials together for you, but yeah, first one I wanted to run through was our existing conditions on city services and infrastructure. This is very much in draft form, and we can edit on the fly. But yeah, starting with our streets, we do have a good amount of data on this from our transportation master plan. They drove all the streets in town and did a pavement that condition analysis of edging, potholes, cracking, came up with a remaining service life. As you can see, a lot of it is at the end of its life currently, with another big bump coming in about 8 to 10 years. More asphalt failing. Tom, you probably know the history on this. It was late '90s. We got a big grant.
'70s, late '70s. That all of the streets in the core were chip and sealed at least. That was a big improvement. And largely over. Well, actually, they may have actually even had some of them got a little overlay, but most of the chip and seal over a well-graded lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was really never constructed as, sub-base gravel layer, like how you see a profile of a street to be constructed. So there's, whenever we get large water events, it all just kind of runs under and then flushes out all the gravel and stuff that's under there. That's why you see so much sinking, and it is so difficult to patch those areas.
Is it not even, it's probably, has done any study like patching or just, hey, bite the bullet, do the right thing, tear it up and put the full profile?
That is something we're kind of looking at in the transportation plan of how we move forward. If we just have 10 layers of chip seal applied over the next 20 years, and like that will kind of become its own sub base, or if we take it all down and do it right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the water, I didn't really have time to dig into a whole lot. I suspect it is very similar to the sewer system. A little bit older, was not installed, the sewer system primarily was installed in the early nineties. But the water was there before that. We get the bulk of our water from the springs at Bellevue Canyon, up in Devo Ranch. That water right is coincident with the platting of the town in the 1880s. And therefore the very senior water right, much cheaper than the other two water sources we have, which are the Chestnut Well and the Spruce Street Chantrell subdivision. So that. Oh. Yeah. Pretty. So that, yeah, sewer system.
Can we hold on water real quick? I read through the comprehensive plan through Bellevue and I heard that Idaho, it stated that Idaho uses a large amount of water compared to other states. And several reasons perhaps, and then maybe ideas about water meters for properties in terms of requiring it and stuff like that. Conservation of water or something like that, or how we use our water.
Yeah, currently it's all flat rate except for handful of commercial
And how
businesses.
cheap it is and they
Yep.
don't up the cost. Measured, stuff like that.
There are water meters in the ground for almost all of the properties in town, and those should be coming online in the next few months, so we can get a baseline over the winter, and then starting in spring when the irrigation season is occurring, we're gonna start billing based on usage.
Yeah.
But yeah, we currently don't have a whole lot of data on it.
Yeah. I think it's great to start a system
Yeah.
like you guys are doing, it sounds like.
You have, they're all like a billing system in
Yeah.
mind? Okay.
Yeah, we're currently.
Pretty robust, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's been a major, whole
Yeah.
software to run this thing is, really expensive.
I'm not surprised.
I think the other thing that we should emphasize is that due to the groundwater management from the state is that a lot of our use of water is not well protected, you might say, so that as we grow, we're gonna have to divert most of our spring water and to drinking and domestic purposes. And we won't be able to do things like large parks, large green spaces and things like that. And there'll probably be some ultimate restrictions that will go to homeowners in terms of actual water techniques and things like that. We don't have the water rights to water the ground. We have the water rights to service the housing.
And it sounds like there will be city engineers doing a study of those water meters or something like that, or kind of usage of some way.
Yeah.
So in the water section, will you include a list of all water rights Bellevue have?
Yeah.
You know if the state puts any restrictions on what you can do to restrict water usage or how you work with that?
I don't know.
Yes,
I
the state manages water, not the city. I mean, the city deliver water to their residents.
But what you're saying is like, it does the state say that we can't prohibit lawn watering or something?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that.
What we could do is just the pricing, is change the pricing. It could be
Yeah.
variable throughout the season. Different
Right.
techniques like that could help. I think that's the main tool we have.
One thing where you're going is, I think Haley, a handful of years ago, when I lived there, had water restrictions on alternate days, whatever the program was. Whether that was specific to a year, a drought condition of that time, I don't remember, but I know Salt Lake City, they stopped, couldn't water your lawn, you couldn't wash your car. So I don't know who implements that, but I know other jurisdictions do it according to whatever's going on in that season. But I don't know the vehicle by which is the state hands it on down the line, or is the locale.
But we have it here.
Yeah.
We do have to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Bellevue,
It has not been well enforced, but on books that.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah,
But the groundwater management plan that you referenced is an important thing to recognize as you think about water development and then future.
Yeah.
Growth and how that water, like where you're gonna get water for that future growth. That's essentially the mechanism that dictates.
and, I think in any annexation. What I think we've seen is that if they have water rights, they will tend to use them on all of their own property, and then Bellevue doesn't benefit from any of their senior rights, and we've got some senior rights that will be coming in with Flying Hat. And on the lower one too, they have some good water, but Bellevue has to find a way to capture some of that so that we can, that we're insured in our domestic capacity. And it'd be domestic and industrial.
anything else on the water one? It's been great. You guys are smarter than me.
Nice to know what our water rights are.
Yeah.
There must be some legal document,
We.
so it's nice to know what that is, because that's actually what counts.
Right, I just know
Versus
that
the state.
our state tends to not allow local jurisdictions to have authority to do certain things that might restrict rights. And so that's why I'm asking, like,
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah.
some overarching thing, whether it's been challenged in court or not. That means if there came a point where there's a drought or you wanted to restrict use of water, what does that look like?
And I think the way the state authorizes water and sewer is that the cities have the capacity, because it's a health issue. In both cases, that the city has the capacity to do whatever it takes.
Okay.
And that's reinforced by DEQ, who, if you're not doing it, will basically step in and do it for you and charge you for it. So what normally occurs is you'll come to a consent agreement with DEQ that will outline a plan that you will follow, and they'll see to it that you follow. And relative to your question, our water rights are 150 inches coming out of Mulberry Spring, adjudicated to 1880. It's one of the best rights in the valley.
Like that.
We're in great shape.
That's
From that, they're good, but their spring rights. In springs, I think, are liable to a number of problems. One is diminishing water supply. And the other would be contamination, and contamination has been a big issue for years.
right. That's what we have DEQ currently.
Yeah.
Deep with us right now.
Yeah.
Those were amendments.
No, those are the data changes.
Oh, those are-
These are?
Yeah, but they're also on the table, so sit down.
Hi,
Good.
everybody, so.
Water in equals water out.
Right. So then, yeah, that goes into stormwater and sewer system. Stormwater will jump ahead, it's short because there is nothing. There's a few dry wells around town that collect some. But other than that, there's not a formal stormwater collection management system. Our biggest stormwater events are spring thaw, that snow off the hills generally comes down and kind of southwesterly across town. Flows out. Then our sewer system, like I said, it was constructed, there was 1991 major project to put sewer lines in. They typically last 50 to 100 years, depending on conditions, and 500,000-ish per mile to replace. I started, I'm gonna bring down my big book. I have that plan that on a paper book that I'm gonna digitize. Put a GIS so I can actually run some data on it. But yeah, we're gonna put all that in and mark all manholes and get all that data together. Treatment plant at the end of the line was installed in 2010 or came online in 2010. It is a very nice facility for the scale of the city. It was not maintained very well from 2010 to 2023, and as a result, flooded, failed, and has been under construction since then to get it this fall. Good news on that is that it was a lot of it was replaced, so it's very close to a new system again. If we actually maintain it, it has a lot of capacity and a lot of, and should, you know, be a functioning asset with like big replacement costs, things that were, for a good one.
Couple questions, Ron.
Yeah.
One, what's the current percentage of capacity being used?
So at the treatment plant, I believe there are 2 of the tunnels that, so it comes in through the pipe and spits out into they call them trades, I think is the technical term for it, but concrete channels that go through a membrane filter system that have to be reviewed. I believe 2 of those are currently in use, and the system is designed for up to 6. Right, so that capacity, that gives you a sense of the treatment plant side of it.
So we have good growth.
Yeah, like, I'm struggling to give you a real number because it's so variable from spot to spot out of the pipes getting. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, this one on 70 or 80.
Right.
Okay, then.
Can I add on that subject real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
Because on the comprehensive plan, it outlined something called a Keller report. Saying that, that if we did grow in the future and we have a number of, it says 351 parcels that are undeveloped right now in Bellevue. If we did fully develop all those parcels and grow 131 of those parcels, we wouldn't have the able to be a supply for the current sewer system back when it was installed in 2010. So I'm not sure if with the upgrades or repairs, if now the system was actually expanded upon and can handle those parcels if they were, but it was just kind of interesting.
Right.
And then I was also kind of curious on that front of, in terms of, we took a $6 million bond back in 2006 for that project that was built in 2010. Has that been paid off?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're still paying for the 2010 that failed. And we probably have a new bond for this.
No, almost all of the failure expenses were covered through our insurance.
Okay.
I know. I create my risk management pool was last, but I don't remember what all the acronym is. But yeah, that was all.
It's a pretty good update last. Also.
Yeah.
Tells what all the repairs.
Okay.
The maintenance, I like that, assuming continued maintenance.
Right.
So, one, I'm imagining, you're subcontracting that somehow to, wastewater management.
Yeah, we currently don't have a licensed operator on staff, so we contract it out.
Wow. Is that in the
I'd
plan?
like to re-enter the workforce.
So is there somebody there all the time?
Not currently, but
No,
there should be.
okay.
That's something we're working on.
Is there, that in the budget?
Yes.
Okay, so to get a licensed operator and.
I don't know how to shut my microphone off.
And we do have contract licensed operators that,
Well, you have to.
yeah.
But it's fine. I'm assuming with the state, assuming continued maintenance.
We good.
Are we complying with a regular maintenance schedule or are we behind?
Well, we are currently not doing maintenance because it's not
It's not
operating.
operating,
But yes, once it is back operational, maintenance will occur.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I wanted to make one comment relative to your suggestion. My understanding is that, there were a number of membrane units originally that had a capacity, but there's space in the plant for additional membrane units.
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
space.
And you're correct, and if everything's developed, we cannot service all of that comes to it, and so further development depends on an additional membrane capacity being built in.
And I wonder how much we've developed in the past years of those 351 that weren't developed.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends how much we've grown. Which is probably not, we're not filling all the parcels yet.
We have not filled up yet.
So that's good to hear. But yeah.
And it seemed like in the past comprehensive plan, a lot of what it was talking about in terms of, we would be at like full capacity with all those parcels being filled was, the sewer mains themselves, I mean, sizes. So I think there have been some updates to like sewer main on Main Street. Potentially.
I'll have to go in and look at.
I think there was once that issue is partially resolved.
Be good to hear.
Yeah.
Update. Plan.
So do you have a sense of the projected growth of Bellevue for the next 10 years?
Not yet, but today we're doing existing, next meeting will still be existing conditions, but then, yeah, we'll start getting into growth projections.
I have a question. I'm online. This is Amanda.
Yeah.
On that current, on those 300 parcels, do those include the new subdivisions like the extended Strawhorn and then the one that's going in south of town?
Strayhorn, I believe, was included in the existing comp plans calculation. Yeah.
So both of those were included.
Just one.
Just Strayhorn, the Gannett Ranch or the Steadfast was not at the Flying Cat property.
They're doing their own, right?
That's to be determined.
Oh, to be determined.
Okay, so that's being discussed on the new comp plan on how those will be integrated to not go over capacity on the sewer system
Correct.
based
Yeah.
on, okay.
Yeah, so just to zoom out a little bit. Today, like I said, we're doing existing additions. I kind of want to kind of get this baseline really dialed in. And then start into how we want to grow, how we want to change, how we want to evolve. And then how do we get from where we're at right now to where we want to be, right? So that's kind of the steps.
Well, do we have the second transmission line, on that list then? Cause I think we always anticipated we'd have to put another high pressure 8-inch line in. And that is the limitation on sewer capacity, just getting it there.
Right. That will be something we want to include in the future notes, right?
Yeah.
Say. Pressurized sewer line running all the way out of Glendale. An investment. Look like you had a thought?
No, I've
Yeah.
always wondered why it was all the way out. That's all, this is just me. Did they do that because of future plan for the city growth?
Not really sure, I mean, wastewater plant siting is a full science in itself of getting it downhill just enough, but. Away from the city, it would not gonna be offensive to anybody and,
I might catch them with snow. Okay.
Tom, do you have any?
Well, I was thinking, the other problem with siting is the community that it gets sited in, and that's why we're down in Glendale. And because the water can be reused for agricultural purposes, which it is, and we have an agreement to use it.
Oh,
So the water in the summertime is used, but the wastewater in the winter time is developed into an infiltration pond. And that's been a difficult thing for the city of Bellevue, because as science has improved its understanding of effluents and its discharge, there are, the first case I think was nitrogen. Our original plant was designed to handle nitrogen through a certain level, and EPA changed the level and the standard that was necessary to protect groundwater. And as a result, our infiltration ponds were out of sync, so we had to, in a sense, that sort of triggered the new plant that we have now with the bioreactors. And since that, we've had additional changes in standards from EPA that have put us out of compliance that we've had to address. So there's a number of issues that we could face in the future as we understand more about how that effluence is distributed and what it contains.
Thank you.
In the winter time. Now, when it goes on to the alfalfa, it's perfect for alfalfa. The nitrogen works great.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more on sewer or stormwater? Okay, police, this one, primarily derived from the marshal. Yeah, a lot of data, because we've been talking about a cut or a budget, so we've currently got just added a fifth officer in the budget for next year. So that is the 1.8 officers per 1,000 resident metric you see here. Average nationally is 2.4, so we're still pretty substantially under the national average.
Is the average for our kind of size of town?
No, it is cities
Okay.
across the board.
Are we going to get some data that would reflect our size, you said, but also our tourist impact, which has a population fluctuation that's different than our permanent population?
We're quite unique.
Yeah, I can add that.
Yeah, you could talk to some of the different, like, Idaho resort towns.
Yeah.
Cedar, houses they are.
There's also the gateway. NOR, I can't remember what the
Yeah.
acronym stands
Yeah,
for, but
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had something like that or knew how to get the information together.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Is there talk, or is Bellevue already working in the county-wide sheriff effort? I can't remember what it's called, but there was some sort of aggregation that was happening. Or has happened, at least between like the county sheriff and Ketchum, and I think Haley.
There's one, I can't remember which one, contracts with the sheriff's office for the, so.
Okay.
For a portion of it, we do not do that. Operated independently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All our marshals are,
So why all the different cards?
so the sheriffs are able to operate and to process, issue tickets and, do law enforcement anywhere they can.
Okay,
We are authorized to work within state limits.
okay,
State troopers can operate in the state. So there are different levels, kind of, they're making up each other.
okay, but they all work together too.
Yeah, yeah.
There, clarity to the urban legend that we're called marshals because of our establishment of the city relative to the state. Us not being regular labeled police or something like that.
Yes, the original starters of
They're in charge of, they're in the.
But we're the only place in Idaho, I think, that has
Yes,
marshals.
we're the organization, yeah.
Seriously, that's something that we should be, you
Yeah.
that should be discussed, we are an old fashioned town, and we go by Marshall,
I
pardon?
think because of this urban legend I'm trying to get clarity on, I like the reference, that we can go to Guffey's and buy hard liquor on a Sunday.
Yes, that's right.
And therefore, I don't think anywhere else in Idaho you can do that either because of the same charter date.
I was wondering why that was, because somebody asked me, I said, well, you gotta go
That's what I'm saying,
down.
I mean,
thing, but I don't think so. I think that's just that, like, there are provisions in the liquor laws that allow,
It's the only place I think we see.
yeah, if there's not a state-run liquor store, you can have it in the gas station. Okay, but
That's the stuff we need to start promoting, be cool. Sorry, I'm serious. We have marshals, we're this. We have
Well, our
deputies.
council has aldermen, that's pretty good.
Yes, yeah. There's all the cool things, right?
So are you saying we need like a Netflix TV show about the Bellevue?
No, I must not go there. I do have connection for Netflix, so. Okay.
Give me a source of run.
Yeah, no, we're looking at that. It's like, yeah, cool stuff.
When we're talking about existing, what is our place in our organization or committee here for infrastructure? We just talked about the sewer, right? So now we kind of cruise by, the runoff, which is called stormwater. I have no idea what the rules are, but for me, I know that where I used to live on Lake Michigan, the big issue was the runoff in Foxvine, Lake Michigan, which is where the drinking water came from, right? And so therefore, for me, I fish right down here, you know, which is above, if Glendale put any treatment plant water in, but people fish and swim right below the catching one. They probably don't know, good or bad, it meets the rules. But where do we stand as an organization, us recommending, hey, should we consider, what does the EPA say? Are we meeting the minimums from runoff into the Big River? And is there a long-term plan that we should encourage us to improve our service discharge?
that is something that we want to establish as a policy.
And let us,
Right, is you guys and the community as a whole, I mean, we get.
But there isn't sewer discharge into the.
no,
river.
I'm talking about service of the runoff of the street.
So like you're talking about the street funds. that
Oh,
would
the
get-
groundwater too.
Any of it, so I guess where I'm going is that our group's recommendation,
Okay, I mean,
okay, well, then I would still be one recommended,
that's
so whether
policy.
it falls onto lower priority, that's a different story.
Yeah, I think like the current condition of the, what's along the river, like I know there are developments along the river, like how many houses with lawns go right to the river, or where we have runoff access to the river from Bellevue.
Or nothing. Or water.
The majority of our runoff goes into the canal.
Yes,
That's what I was saying, more of those kind of.
but having some sense of that, you're. So certain parts of the county, it's a pretty big issue. Lawn runoff and stuff.
My previous job at McCall, but that was a constant. Fertilizer law. Like,
So it'd be good to know more about what the rules are,
Yeah.
right, where we stand with the rules, and whether it can options for best practices, and decide how do we want to prioritize that. Which, what made me think of it was when I saw the thing about the evidence closet, for the marshals, all right? And I've never been back there, but, the point is, it seems small, and I know we're tight in here right now, and City Hall having, you know, duct work and making it work, and your guys' office upstairs. Is it our recommendation to say, let's get grants, assess our departments, and see if we need a new shop building or whatever it might be, that us?
yeah, so we're figuring out like what we got now, and we're gonna figure out what we want things to look like.
By the time we leave, we'll figure out what we signed up for.
Well, there you go. Well, that's the goal earlier on. I mean, I'm assuming we want to put on the list and improve whatever you want to call it, city services buildings, because we sure seem like we've been managing with an awful, they band-aided together, passed together.
And I feel like your role definitely is to be as firm with your recommendations as you want to be and put out as wild of recommendations as you want to. We're kind of the ones who are here to crush your dreams a little bit, maybe, but that is your role to
Okay.
kind of dream a little bit and give us some big recommendations.
I mean, then it's, to me, it's obvious, and you support your staff with the tools and the facility and morale, quality, you name it, might come forward, and the community see those assets shy of the, you know, not over the top hall, you know, being smart and conscientious of the money to do said improvements. They usually would have also a civic, positive response. I'm assuming.
So I think this existing conditions document is really important to that point, and like this being filled out appropriately with enough information.
Yeah.
To illustrate like where are those shortfalls, like, you know, I'm looking at the same thing with. The evidence closet, it's in the literal closet.
Yeah. There is a literal corner back going across the way, and then there is a closet with a lock
There's a lot,
Little lock.
one that could be
But you
fixed.
can leave the door in it, so it doesn't matter.
I think you bring up excellent thinking and stuff, but it's for later. So right now, we need to stay focused on existing, in my opinion. And we're definitely gonna get in all the areas you're talking
But
about.
evaluating existing.
Hold on, I'm not done. And to that end, you know, I'm hoping when we get into the, where we want to be, when we grow up, we can do some sort of design charrette and we really go at it. And we, you know, like, there's no bad idea. So we hopefully do that.
With that in mind, when we talked about streets, we didn't talk about the maintenance yard, which is down in the floodplain. And I think it's been a long-term hope on the part of the council, and I'm talking about 20, 30, 40 years, get that thing out of there, but we just never had the opportunity, but we will have that opportunity with the annexations coming up to get some light industrial land to move that shop, so I think we need to put the maintenance yard on the existing conditions. Inappropriate for the floodplain and floodway, because the floodway actually runs right through the middle of the road, Martin Lane, and then on in toward the Howard Reserve.
And that's the last section of the sign.
Oh, we're not, I thought we did streets, we did.
I put it under facilities rather
Oh,
than
okay.
streets, because it does service water and sewer. That
Works, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, Marshall provided kind of a wish list of some things that would be good to have, those locker rooms and somewhere to crash. For a couple hours after their regular long shift, both in the row before they head back to their place that they can afford with.
Which might be the best for here.
Yeah, showers, they're going to grow and expand and probably gonna need a little more office space than the group they have over there. I need to follow up with the chief, where we're gonna kind of do the same thing with fire department, as far as what they have currently, what they're maybe in the future. They're not currently meeting, it does seem like that one is a little more appropriately scaled to the current service level, and need. Like I said, I can follow up with Greg on that.
So so just that police, they have no admins,
Right.
so they do their own dispatching, all that kind of stuff.
So there's central dispatch at the county,
There is.
yes, but like there's not a front desk person there that, you know, they are both out on patrol, the door is locked.
That's why they're called marshals, like the old westerns. Yeah. Can you clarify something with fire, because my knowledge is everything that I read in the paper, that's sad. But our fire department is connected with everything that's in the county, correct?
We are, we
Okay,
have our own fire department within the city. There has been talks of consolidation, but at this point,
okay.
in our other staff, the department, there is a part-time chief, very part-time assistant chief, and then a slew of volunteers.
It's pretty close to volunteer.
Yeah. But I'd say it probably has the best infrastructure of any department that we have in the city. In the sense that they do have a secure building up there that fits their own, they are well equipped, and well supported, I think, by the council, so. I've looked at them as being one of the lucky departments.
Yeah.
Didn't they just repave over there?
Pardon?
Did they just repave that over?
Over there on the,
So, yeah, it's pretty good shape. The other thing. Those, the reason they're part-time, the other part-time is they're.
Yeah.
They're around.
Our neighbors at the airport a lot of the time are contracted water and sewer operators, mostly are employed by Haley. We share. Most of our equipment comes from Haley, Fun Valley.
And all that will be explained in this document as well, and what partnerships exist between cities, et cetera, and how that's integrated.
Okay.
now there's only rare partnerships there.
Get off your phone.
So anything else on fire?
Let me throw a couple in here, neighborhood parks, there are actually 2 neighborhood parks north of the trailer court. And below Chantrell, one of which is a 1 acre one right around our, well down there. And then the larger park then continues all the way on up around, and there's a trail that's built that goes up to intersect with Chantrell up near Kirtley. And that's a 4 or 5 acre cottonwood forest, basically, that's well used, and isn't included in here. There's also one park of 1 acre that is at the end of the senior care, the long-term care facility up here. The last lot, I think it's lot 5, was dedicated to the city of Bellevue. And then we have an access on the western side of that piece of property, and it's a 25-foot access, and somehow someone allowed the senior care system to build their refuge containment area in it, and they used up 20 feet of our 25-foot, so we've got a 5-foot squeeze there. I don't think we could even get a utility vehicle up there, but that's a problem we need to address. And they were approached a couple of years ago with this problem, and the city was threatened with a lawsuit. And we may have some legal issues because of an administrator approved it. Somehow, it was approved by the city. If that's the case, you know, the city allowed them to do it and we don't have a claim. So I'm not sure how that's gonna get resolved. There's some research that needs to go into that one.
Yeah, thank you for the reminders on those 2, The Chantrell lots, you know if those were intended, like that they were dedicated and to be developed parks or just kind of open natural area?
The ones on the riverfront?
Yeah.
The 1 acre park down near the pump, the well, was intended for more intensive use associated with Chantrell for some kind of play space. It's never been developed, but it's in a nice location with the trailer park here and Chantrell over there. So it's an opportunity for more intense. The other is more of a, what you might call a reserve or a open space, but it's protecting some pretty critical floodplain areas, and it also has some really giant old cottonwood, and it's a beautiful old cottonwood forest. So, and they have names too. I think the larger forest is the Mary Griffin. Who was the librarian here years ago, and the little park, I think, has her name too, but
I'll dig in on the, seems like our,
Oh, I was just gonna say, this is a different one, so you should actually finish that one.
and I was just gonna say that, I need to follow up with Mark at some point. I suspect there's some background data from your guys' facility plan that I can borrow on what our parks currently have.
Yep.
See,
We mapped all the parks out, condition, what it could be used for.
Like race.
Oh, I just remembered another one, up on Cowcatcher. The city owns a big block that goes right past the, land trust piece. And it goes up, and it was always intended to, originally it was intended, it came in with straight line. And the idea was that to build a trail up there and have a hill climb, and it gets great sunlight exposure, much like Carbonate does down in, Haley, so that, when the rest of us are inundated with snow and can't walk around, that sometimes is open and available for people to, do a hill climb up there, which is, great exercise in the winter time. Stuff out of college. And we ought to, put that one on the list at least, and then imagine what it might be developed into.
Incidentally, we're gonna finish the toe of the hill trail to Bellevue.
There's another one.
Summer, we're gonna try to get through the process. That, we talked about this yesterday.
Well, and that should connect to the 1 acre park out there, and whether we go up the hill and connect to something on the other side, of Cowcatcher, which is what the city owns that I was referencing, or come through that 5 acre slot up 7th Street, this.
We should talk about this
Yeah,
as we get going.
yeah,
Cause we're trying to figure out that corner in there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good transition to, I need to do more writing, research on this, but most of our open space and outdoor activity area is not city parks, it's, wetland, it's land trust properties, so I need to do more research into that and put more information together, and then on our trail system as well, what is available and access to it. So we need as far as parking and signage, that sort of stuff.
This is on the parks front, sort of. We had talked 2 weeks ago about how the Parks Committee used to also look at and manage the urban forest in Forest Town. And I wonder if we have anything about the current state, but it might be good.
Yeah,
Our urban canopy, some point that it's a tree canopy, our urban forest management and policy related to that.
Was that the John thing that they had done with the tree research?
What's that?
Was that with John?
John Wilkes?
Yeah, is that what they had done with that tree research?
Yeah, I believe we, did research.
Right.
2000-ish,
Yeah, but
You know,
it was
a lot
not
of
at the road meeting.
grow a long time, so probably still fairly correct, but.
So somewhere along these lines of parks, but trails I do think need to be integrated somehow.
Yeah.
Like what is the existing trail, accessibility to various trails, movement through town, what's that currently look like? There's some of that in the. I don't remember what the name of that plan is, micromobility, something or other plan. Been working on various forms for the last 3 years. That's something that would be interesting. It would be good to know the current condition, especially as we're thinking about some of the expansions. Off the Woodruff Trail. Yeah.
I'd like to second the tree comment. Yesterday I was traveling and NPR had a 1 hour show on shade. And it was really interesting thinking about that they used the city, I think they used Triggs, in Idaho as an example of winter climate. Where it was all about getting sun to our kitchen dining livings and sidewalks for snow maintenance or. And they were comparing it to San Francisco, which was, we don't want shade, and certain things in a negative way, but we want sun. So it's a hybrid, working your way down to, I think, where it was California, Los Angeles, and how, no trees. And therefore, I'm thinking of streets and out in the public way, different than residential neighborhood, but if climate change is, in my 28 years being here, my observation, something that's real and getting hotter. Therefore, I think the inventory would be awesome. And then part of a wish list, what does the public corridor look like in the residential neighborhoods versus commercial, for benefits of shade or not shade?
And alongside that cement cover, I lived in Atlanta for a while and just knowing how much of the ground is actually covered by cement versus being able to have different systems infiltrate and the ecosystem work better.
And that does relate to the storm water
Yeah,
section.
yeah.
For sure. I was listening to a podcast that talk about I think it's called cul-de-sac, the development in Tempe, Arizona, that it's car-free, and because it doesn't have asphalt in it, and how the buildings are designed, trees and all that, it's 15 degrees cooler within
Wow.
that site than.
Yeah. So we should go ahead and grind up all of our roads and not worry about it. No, I mean, yeah, there is
No,
some good
that's
things
like what
about
you-
it. They're half-assed anyways, let's just go for it. No, seriously. And it would
very
save
good.
us money. And, I mean, I'd rather have that than the big pothole where the bus gets stuck in.
Yeah.
Just
So
think of,
another,
and it would go along with being this old fashioned city, and I have this whole picture now.
I'm not sure where it would belong, but it's probably loosely associated with parks, is our dark sky. Uh, And well, I'd like to know our existing state, because I know there's a lot of no enforcement. And there's just violations all over the place.
I
in the
have-
city,
I
in the, housing areas.
I have too much paperwork on it that I can get. My former partner is the International Dark Sky representative and was hitting city council very hard here about changing all the lights and was offering to bring in proper lights. They're very expensive. I know this, but he does have all the data, and the other person who has it is Tim, who lives next door to me. He,
Tim,
Tim,
Tim Brady, or.
Yeah, who
That
makes-
last meeting, yeah, I would be
Yeah.
very short on this.
Yeah.
Kim personally emailed me this week that she's having some health issues and having to resign.
Care of that.
So, if you don't see him around town, please.
I will talk to him, but between him and Marley, they have the stats about everything that's going on here. We can get that very soon.
Great. And
So,
please,
so I think there's
enforcement on it,
huh?
please send enforcement, issues to me.
Yeah, well, I think there's two parts, there's like what the city absolutely is in control of, what their lighting standards should be, and then there's residential.
Right.
And there is standards, but there's no enforcement, right?
Part of it.
I could point out a dozen for you right now. And like last night, I was trying to watch the first day of Meteors, and it was like horrible, like, geez, and forget the full moon, but
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, the people with lights that are shining straight out, not down, and all kinds of things like that.
Part of it also has to do with the electrics that are the state, the street lights.
Yeah, there are some of the street lighting most of it's ours. and then
Yeah, I'm
there are-
talking about residential. What I'm talking about, not city.
Okay.
The city's one thing, like I said,
Okay.
then there's residential,
Each
residential,
house.
yeah, people
Yeah.
that live here and somehow implicitly, agree that this, we're gonna apply with dark sky, but yet they don't.
I wonder with residential too, in terms of enforcement, the kind of existing non-conforming aspect of it, like is there a statute of limitations of you did a light, you got permitted in 2016, but you didn't do the right light? How far back can you go
So
to
it's not,
force them to
it's not
comply?
even that, there are clear, codes. Regardless if you complied with it or not, right, when you built, it's super clear. Really good, actually, the codes from Bellevue, it's just there's no enforcement, so you go to the marshal, he says, oh, it's, Brian Swamp, but now he's got an assistant.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's how it goes right now, it's like, I've tried to get, and it's a long process too. Like, first they gotta write a letter, and then they've got 30 days to fix it, and then no one follows up on that.
Shame.
And I'm not blaming them, it's just something needs to happen, shame's a
It works.
22 words.
Yeah, that's my street light. If I.
Or if you can reach it, you can unscrew, no,
That's too high.
I'm just kidding.
I think our codes do need review though, because they don't address like the porch light. You'll have a naked, we see them all over town, and they're not addressed in terms of how they transmit.
No, it is, it's in there, I read it already, so.
Really, the last time I looked at it.
Oh, details with angles and all kinds of stuff, I mean, it's all, pretty much it's simple, it's just gotta point down. There's no outward, allowed.
This stuff is super important for going forward, I think, is knowing that we actually have.
But I'd love to put that into the existing
Yeah.
and then then when we get to the fun parts of what should we do?
Yeah.
We can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, my
We should at least put in the document, hey, we have a problem, violations of dark sky all over.
Yeah, I want this one to be.
And then probably there's an awareness piece too, like maybe a flyer goes out, hey, do you realize you live in a city that has adopted dark sky and here's the codes and rules?
And here's why. And here's why.
Yeah, here's
Why it's
why.
important.
Yeah.
Especially people who are hunters and stuff, to understand the birds and the butterflies and everything else that it really
all
has
that,
to
yeah.
do.
I think
Hitting
that-
them with the understanding that people that are here, their mentality,
Yeah,
versus like, oh, we live in the city, it's, these people are hunters here, these people are nature,
yeah.
aware.
We're the
That's a good way to have
Well, we live here because we wanna get away from all that
Well, exactly,
over pollution.
that's what our spotlight.
One of the.
Yeah.
I wonder if for the existing conditions for this issue for dark sky, if we could do, there's some sort of. Simple study we could do of,
I would imagine a little satellites up in the sky.
I'll go walk with you. We back up the
I'll
whole
go
place in
too.
one night.
yeah,
I just drive around going, I'm fine.
No,
I'm
like-
No e-bike.
Yeah, like-
There you go.
I could just imagine like if we have. An amount that's like the average lumens at night in Bellevue, and then we can. Later, if we wanted in a comprehensive plan, say, this is the lumens we're aiming for. That would be a cool metric to try to transition to.
Well, it
I
sounds
love that
color,
idea.
there's a whole bunch of stuff about color.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I will get the information what's existing to you as well.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, the next meeting, I'm planning on kind of getting into the demographics and economics, existing condition stuff, and then. There's a bunch of other like infrastructure type things that we need to look at for city statute on airports and electric lines that.
Airport.
That, so I think tree canopy and lighting both fit into that kind of like other bucket pretty well, and so I'll try and get that together in the next meeting, and go for suggestions. Is there anything else that you guys would like me to, that I'm not thinking of?
Are you gonna talk about housing conditions?
That is coming in the next one.
We didn't cover facilities that much.
We did not, we jumped around, yeah, so, still just. Doing it all. Is, it's fun. There's duct tape and baling wire kind of an operation in here. I think everybody is aware that it is needing it, the tear down.
Figure it's a full demo.
Oh, yeah, we're trying to limp it along as best we can, but it's getting more and more expensive to do basic repair and maintenance on it. And we're tight, there's now 5 employees working upstairs. We have a school that we don't all jump at once.
Anyone got a real quick,
What's that?
has anyone done a quick estimate demo redo? 50 million bucks.
No, I mean, we've not gotten that far in the process, I have in my head, like 8 to 10 million is probably what it would cost for a new building, in McCall, we spent $18 million on the library, that is bigger and nicer than what we need for the city hall here, but that is kind of a rate. Like that.
Yeah, at least we know, it's at least that,
Yeah.
more than that.
There's a house up there.
Like, ouch. Okay, makes sense though.
And then, yeah, again, like Tom was saying, public workshop, the assessor said built in 1979, that seems about right. I'll try and confirm that, but yeah, it's. Basically, there's the big shop, there's not a lift in there, there's no shower facilities or anything like that, which we should probably have in the staff to. They're coming in contact with chlorine and things like that on a regular basis, and should have some facilities for them to take care of themselves. In the floodplain. There's no maintenance lift in the shop, it's just concrete pad, they can roll around under, vehicles, they. Storage for,
How's vehicle maintenance done, so trucks and cars and then
It's done as best as our staff can, and then if we need. But outside, we can either contract in for somebody to come down, or kind of, or. Don't really. We don't have in-house maintenance staff, right, speak up over, but our staff is kind of knowledgeable on a lot of things.
How is snow plowing handled?
It is mixed, we contract with ones for excavation for some of it, but then our staff also does the bulk work. Almost all of our equipment was donated from Sun Valley or Haley or mentioned. Some of it is in pretty good condition, some of it was donated because it was remediation standards.
We are the ugly stepsis.
Yeah.
This last one.
That's Carrie, actually.
We hand our stuff off here.
But I thought we got our Christmas decorations from Shoshone. Yeah, that's what I was told. I was like, oh my God, so that's sad.
So on the facilities list, I haven't seen any of this referred to vehicles and all that, like that would probably be worth understanding.
Yeah.
What is the fleet look like?
Yeah, it wasn't, largely nothing.
Yeah, like the police or the marshals didn't mention any cars, I'm sure they have need for car replacement somewhere in there.
I think he was mostly focusing on things that aren't like in the budget for replacement already.
Pretty big.
And I think on everything in facilities, including the equipment, it would be good to have an estimated lifespan for everything. Yeah. Like say, if we did not replace City Hall, or like, what is the lifespan? And if we just left it to sit as it is, what is the remaining lifespan? Well, yeah. Also, we could add a lever. Yeah.
Are you gonna have each department basically enumerate their facilities and
Yeah, so
inventory?
a lot of this, like, I want our comp plan to be comprehensive and to be used for more than just land use decisions. Like like most places, it just, you kind of pull out your land use map and sit down at the wall, then the rest of it sits on the shelf. So I want this to be really useful for budgeting and revenue forecasting, like that. Going through and at least identifying the like big eggs in the snake. So here's a really big expense, here's 10 years, another one, 15. And so, yeah, like having all the departments kind of put together what they need to operate and continue providing quality services. It's good.
In terms of sales initiatives, when you send out the links to us of all the other comprehensive plans of the greatest studies, for me, something that means a lot is graphics, right, and imagery. So, for example, if we were talking about the shop, see our, I think it's gold, yellow, 1970s, light industrial steel building. Just seeing that image tells a whole story, right?
Yeah.
Good or bad or indifferent, but it tells a story. Just like those two art pieces that you showed us, you'll have a map exhibit that shows where the parks are in green space, then we'll see an interconnectivity map. And it brings a whole different level of understanding so that, if there was a photo of City Hall, it's kind of like, how do you barely show the building, but it's really nice to have a goal and consider the photos, which is the current. But then it might be the what it is.
Yeah, it's very, very rough document currently there. I did get one map in there.
I like that.
Yeah.
So Old City Hall Museum, I've been driving by for years, I have not been in, that's the thing that I mean, it's very nice. But as an architect, I'm responsible that if I see something that could be life safety, and I'm supposed to say it. And I did for a chimney that luckily got fixed before it fell, Haley, so I did speak out once. And I did not speak out once, then a big chandelier did fall, within 24 hours of me seeing something. I share that because the museum so leaning fell. So we're having a structural assessment done, right? And let's say the assessment says whatever, the beams can still carry it. Architecturally, for fitness of me not wanting to walk through the front door by seeing the leaning of that thing, it's almost like we shore it up just to make it proud, sit straight in your chair, So maybe that's what we'll get if you go into the museum. I'm not sure, but
I think it represents Bellevue in a lot of. That's what I'm saying, that's my argument, the before picture. When that was rebuilt, by the Idaho Heritage Trust about 10, 15 years ago, that question came up, what do we do with that thing, you know? And that was debated quite a bit, you know, like it does. Do we structurally straighten that guy up or not? And then the roof line that drops in the middle, it's an addition, and they just didn't build it to the right size, and they missed by about that far, so the roof sags down, it leaves, it drops. So they decided that that's symbolic of where we were.
Well, then it's the leaning tower of Bellevue, you know?
I always call it the Queen Bus. Sorry, that's it.
I think I like the marketing of the tower better. Without.
Oh, like, you'll never see it the same again.
You're right, it's brilliant.
For the streets and traffic, you had asked me to be on that organization, and I wasn't able to attend any of the meetings. And so a topic for me that I see, because our office is on Bellevue, on Main Street, we go across the street to the structural engineer. And then different spots, new flags, you know, occasionally you see alias, blinking lights and so forth. And then there's gonna be this macro vision for the Main Street corridor. But where I'm going is, I don't know how to label it, but it's kind of this accessibility, connectivity, more for the walking and also for bike crossing.
Yeah.
Because now I see a lot of bikes, by the, whatever you wanna call it, splash and dash, gas station and so forth, coming to the top of the hill there. There's a bus stop on the corner, so there's gonna be something on the street, safety, moving around of humans, whether it's walking or bikes.
And that light goes out a lot. I crossed there and pressed the light and the light's not working. I've called a couple times.
There are a
That's
couple of
scary.
chronic problems.
Yeah, that was a problem.
I think even comparing the width of the lanes.
Yeah.
To what you would want for the speed limit and for being able to cross and that sort of thing, I think would be interesting. It's like everyone wants to speed because of the width.
That would go lots of out of Main Street.
You know, that biking stuff, it's interesting, because actually technically, they have to follow vehicular rules.
Yes.
And their crosswalks are not for walking or biking.
No.
But they.
Well, they
but
are,
they
you
get off-
don't
Like, get off, they should be getting off the bike and then walking.
Correct, but they don't.
Right.
I do.
Good for you.
No, but I mean.
That's how it
I've
should be.
ridden them a long time.
But anyways, I love your whole idea, I think you're.
And so then I was just in a place, because when you're in a group like this, let alone my profession, I'm taking in information when you're traveling and seeing other places, good and bad. And so Red Lodge, Montana, I was just there on vacation. It's a different condition in terms of its street width and so forth. But it was very interesting watching their traffic and pedestrian dynamic, way more tourist street, Main Street. But where I'm going is intersections, and so it's just another spot that down the road, we can get a worse image of it, just to see what they did. Because they're a snowy climate as well. So what they did, obviously, it has to be removed in the winter months, but they did an interesting pattern of these things in the summertime. And so for us, if we say we want to recommend or revitalize core from A to B, you know, is that our group when we get to the visioning? Yeah.
Once again, yes,
Good.
the responsibility.
I'm also working on quite a bit of that stuff with the urban renewal agency at the moment, but. Do things they have planned for.
And I'm biased, it's the multi-lane airport runway, I'm calling it that, as it comes through Bellevue, there's gotta be something that give us some character. I don't want to say slow down, but that's a different story.
Well, really, the daily vehicles travel up the road. Doesn't even mandate the number of lanes that are on it either. It to ITD's standards is too much roadway.
Wow, that's interesting.
So bike lanes.
Who knows what, maybe. And trees.
Oh, trees.
Trees that have visual, lift up canopies, so you can see when you come out of the gas station, that you can see. Right, that's bias. I'm all for trees, but if you have the visual, what about vision triangles? Out intersections. Oh, I think the one last thing on your graphics, it was neat seeing some of these graphics, stuff like this, when I was looking at other cities, I took notice on theirs. It's kind of graphics they chose, we're not reinventing the wheel, so it's nagging the imagery that tells us things. And then, you know, down the road, this chart, I understand if you look closely, my bifocals and peek at it, but yeah, what's representing, starting to tell the story graphically.
Back to Old City Hall. I just was privy to a conversation about South Valley Visitor Center, a group of people that are trying to get that back together. It used to be out of Guppy's apparently.
Okay.
But as we're thinking about that Old City Hall Museum, there's a lot to think about. Preserving
Is
it
that
and
why
what
there
it
is
can.
a visitor information 1 mile sign about 1 mile south of Bellevue?
I know who's kind of talking, I was at a luncheon that I was like, oh, okay, it's really cool. If they would do it, but being able to put something into that hall and make it more of what that museum more than that. Yeah,
Sorry.
just to put it in the back of our head, please. So.
Well, then I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot, but I like where you're going with that visitor center-ish concept. I live off Gannett Road, and so therefore that's my path of travel, and I don't very often go south end of Main Street here. I believe we have a city entrance sign. Yep. Is it lit at night? Yep. Okay, so in other words,
Dark sky.
I think it's, well, you still downlight it and so forth, but where I'm going is, Haley tried to do a sign by O'Reilly's, to me, it's as strong as it could be. So therefore, out, you know, and in our town, and therefore, the reverse is, we don't have one, I'm sure. Nor at least I've never seen one,
Yeah.
therefore, why not, you know, on both ends of the town, you know? I don't know. Or that's not the name, that's the local graphic, whatever it is.
Should say gateway to the Woodbridge Valley. There's a lot.
No, something's here.
So there you go.
Carrie to have an entrance on. This was probably 15 years ago or so. So there was a group of people doing a similar thing. It wasn't a comprehensive plan for the city, but it was a group called the Pioneers Alliance. And one of the objectives of the group was carry improvements. And one of the things that Carrie did, among others, was entrance signs coming in and.
I can picture their sign.
That was a deliberate thing that the community came up with, to your point. I think it's pretty nice. It's visible.
I like it. It's
They're very clever.
Yeah.
carry on, carry on. I like it.
I love it.
It's a local example. It's actually, I think, pretty good.
No, they did a good job.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think ours should be better.
And you're right. This gets lost. I don't
It
know.
blends in.
Huh?
It blends
It blends
in.
in,
Artistically, it blends into the surroundings.
That's true.
Yeah.
but it's easy not to.
Yeah, I mean, if you could light it properly, it would work.
It's like-
So.
I'm assuming you'll have a retail and commercial section, like existing stuff or entertainment.
Yeah, it's kind of good to do economics generally, like get a profile of the town.
So no, thanks.
I miss the bowling now.
Oh, we all do.
Now the one down at Shoshone's gone.
It is?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's turning into a golf interactive thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
You gotta go to Sun Valley.
Oh, yeah. $200
Exactly, it's like, only for a big party.
And even then, it's hard.
Yeah.
So expensive.
I agree. I love them.
Yeah.
So in looking at some of those other examples, and maybe this is shared feedback that might plant a seed for upcoming versions, I'm just gonna read some notes that I took. In the Driggs, they had a second page, which was, first page is in English and second page was in Spanish, or as their entrance to the document. And I thought it was neat, it just stood out in a positive way for a large population of our community, that would make sense to have that up front. Then they also referred in the Driggs document, when they were doing kind of what we're doing today, the existing conditions, they kept, I like how they did this. My dad said to me, son, you know, they're strange, different, unique, all right? And he was talking about me, and which one of those I was, you know, and so the words have negative connotation, you know, and I was like, all right, so am I different? Well, he goes, no, you're unique, all right? Well, in the unique category, Driggs was talking about our unique town. And they kept doing their bullet points of what we are that makes us unique. You know, it was just a neat use of the word, it repeated the theme, and therefore it was obviously leading to, they wanted it to be the charm. Unique became what's their vision to, you know, have their theme carry on, but it was how they packaged unique. I like that. And so then in McCall, they have a diagram And the diagram was what makes a great place, and then they had partnered with some other like Urban Land Institute that helped them critique what makes a great place. And so it was neat on how you run it through this filter to say, well, if we want to be whatever our great place is, are we a great place? Where are we lacking? So they had a graphic that came from an organization that was the representation tool of what they used to critique where they were, where they wanted to go. So there's it looks to me like a nonprofit organization that, you know, helped them create that graphic and help them do that filter. Keep going, tell more. Sandpoint, they had, for this exercise that we're doing, they obviously took photos along the way that they did it, and they did a thing that they called, public participation by the numbers. So it was a one pager of what this group did over the 2-year haul. So one picture of this in a meeting, it was all you needed, all right? But then they also went out and showed outreach at the park. They showed other forms of documentation of how this comprehensive plan group went out, survey, not results, but actually 1,100 participants came back. So they had these neat bullet points on, it shows that we did our homework and qualified the outreach that we did, the organizations that we met with. So they had a neat page on the public participation by the numbers, is what they called it. And then you were talking about our headed towards housing, and I'm trying to see where it was. It was, oh, what city? It was Haley. Haley had a great summary of their existing housing inventory, what they thought the vision was going to be according to population growth, and then they broke it down. I want to say it was this like floret thing that had these radiating tiers.
The bridge, they call it a housing bridge.
Housing bridge of how much we needed, what the types were, how it worked with that annual income amounts and so forth. And I mean, it's important, if we're gonna grow most likely in the housing category, and then it divided it by the different levels of need, and the need had to do with economic situations. So I thought they had a great diagram, Steve Haley, so you know the graphic of that. And then Sandpoint did something that I thought was pretty cool. They went and traveled their neighborhoods. They had photos of their neighborhood character and architecture. And so Bellevue would have something very similar, where we look behind us here, we've got the original charm from the 19 teens and up through the 30s. Then we've got the knockoff neighborhood from the late 1990s that pulled it off pretty good, you know, where they did the cottagey looking houses. They were showing those themes. Then you go out to, you know, our subdivisions out to the east here, and it showed just the flavors. It was neat how they did this.
Then there's the original, like I have one of the original houses.
More than the original. So it was a neat inventory, again, showing who we are, just like looking at the shop building, all right, good, bad, or indifferent. It shows where we are and what our vision might be, you know? And so the leap is, there's places in my profession like Seaside, or you just said a place in Arizona, you know, who knows what our vision might be, so that it may possibly influence the planning and zoning department with their ordinances. So we're gonna live in Carter, Utopia, earthly shelters, no, I'm cheap. But you know, what is it that is our theme? Do we want to promote that story, themes, mining themes, who knows? But
Can we somehow take a look at Virginia City, Nevada? Just, they did some, I know they have some major rules and what they've done to keep what they had. I mean, what's happening in Ketchum and Haley? You know,
Right.
we have the ability to save what has been blown out. And I think that's something we should think about every time I look up here. You know, we have the old West line.
well, I think the Haley, what'd you call that Haley diagram for housing?
Oh, it's a housing bridge.
Housing bridge.
Yeah, so it shows the income levels and then you can map it against need.
That's cool.
I mean, our job is to be optimistic and, but at the same time, testing what reality is. And I was an optimistic developer, architecture teammate this November, and I found out the sad truth about developing on Main Street into a mixed use building. That financially, the lowest cost per square foot was $327 to build. And when you actually look at the cost of the land, the cost to build a project, then what the market will bear for rent. Here I am, we can talk all hypothetical about what we want to be, bring economic reality to the table to figure out how to implement it. Because if you just do the conceptual and you don't track against the implementable reality, nothing happens. And that's why I'm on this committee, is I wanna see growth and change in a positive direction, but how do we make it happen? Because we have the vision and if it doesn't pencil for whatever, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and there's like the two strands of it, right? There's like the physical design, that sort of character, and then there's the actual community who's living or not living in the homes.
It's a hard balance, but I think there should be a little 1 hour economic discussion at some time with a presenter. According to testing what our vision is to see if it can actually be done, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think, you know, when we do get our vision, and which personally, having done it many, many times, design charrettes are the best, to get all the ideas, start honing it down, and of course, financial is one of the considerations if it makes the grader. But that, I think we absolutely have to do that. There's a whole lot of other factors to consider by the time we start whittling down this monster, beautiful vision. At first, all the nice things we all want, but then it's like, you gotta get real.
On to get real,
What can be really done?
not knowing the current government status, federal level or even state level. How in your guys' planning experience, or what you know from cities, or those that have participated, how hard is it to get in line, put your package together to get grants and federal funding? Or big infrastructure projects or big improvement plans in a community core for the civic, the ownership of Bellevue side of things, not the private sector. How hard is it to get money like that? I assume it's hard, but really hard.
I'm give it a 8 out of 10 on difficulty. I mean, Bellevue kind of falls into a little bit of a black hole where we are part of the micropolitan statistical area, so we're not a rural funding pool. We are statistically wealthier than most rural places, so we don't get economic disadvantage, which grant funding as much. But there's still money out there, and we personally put there.
I'm on the board of the Botanical Garden, and I'm gonna use that as an example, so that we always found it was easier, or I believe this is true, I'm speaking on that myself, to go to an individual, and take them out to lunch and invite them to wine and dine them and so forth, and get a single donor to write a check versus trying to do the staff time, to write the package together, to get $120,000 that might or might not come, and you put 40 to 60 hours in your grant package, and it's like, boys, it's better spent to try to reach out to the private sector to get funding, right? And that's been my experience, but the grant side was an 8 out of 10 hard, right? But then I'm critiquing myself going, or was it just a pain in the ass, therefore it was there, we actually should have been having a $50,000 grant writer as a staff member and be like, go for the friggin' money. And so I was assuming, I was assuming cities were prioritizing in other ways and not going after the free money. And I assumed it was not the word laziness, but it was just a prioritization of resources to go after money. And so I'm just like, hey, how do you go get money? You have $30 million to redo piece together, 100 million or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's a really, I'd actually like to see in this existing document all of our income sources that we have. Like, where does money come from?
Right.
Grants.
Maybe that's it, to see how much have we earned.
How much, what's our existing, and then looking to the future, I think grants is, in my experience in doing that, I've done that, is hiring a grant writer.
Yeah.
And they pay for themselves, they get a couple of $300,000-$400,000 grants.
I will, not to be a wet blanket, but I will address just what I'm going through with BCRD. To Brian's point, grants are really hard to get, and then individual donations can be tricky to get if you're a government agency.
For sure.
And I think that's, yes, there's a lot of wealth in our community, but I'm not.
Oh, I wasn't pointing to a city for the private wealth, I was just using this experience of prioritization of where do you go for your effort.
To me, this kind of stuff, and I think that what we're faced with in our community right now is, are we willing to step up as communities and invest in ourselves? And frankly, what that means is, are we willing to tax ourselves a little bit more to get things done?
Yeah.
Because collectively, there's not a way as far as. It's one of the strongest strategies that we have going for us, as far as cities, but at least we're a taxing district.
we have to invest in our community, and I think these kinds of documents are important, right? The vision and the goal, like, what does that really mean? How do we want our communities to invest in ourselves and the staff that run these places? These are tricky questions, and I think our community is gonna be pressed with this over the next 5 years. Like, there's gonna be a lot of organizations, and if you don't know, we're coming up in November for a vote. Like, there's gonna be the school districts coming, the cities are coming, everybody's looking at ways to invest in ourselves, and that is a big question that we're gonna wrestle with as a community. And that's again, not to be a wet blanket statement, but I do think that these kinds of things become really important for our community to weigh in on, create that vision together. Whether that investment's gonna cover everything or not, or whether we're willing to vote for these kinds of things to move forward, that is the big question I think we're faced with right now.
And I was a grants manager for California for almost 10 years, and the biggest money that you can get as a city is gonna come from the state or the feds, and more they're requiring updated plans. And as Brian knows, and Carter, I'm sure, plans are very expensive, and a lot of time and effort goes into the plans, and they don't just want one, they usually want 2 or 3 or 4, so. Not to mention all the environmental documents that are, again, even more expensive and even more time and resources, so. It's a challenge to get a grant, and you have to also be able to show organizational capacity to manage the funds that are coming in. And do the reporting, and I mean, it's a lot.
It's also a challenge to convince the community to invest in this kind of stuff
Right,
too. So I think that's also the
Right.
basis for what this becomes and what this group can come up with. Kind of maybe to your point.
To the reality side.
Yeah.
How do we make it
Reality side.
happen? We have to be able to know what we talked about, the challenges or is it a bond that you're speaking of that you go to the community or a annual tax?
Like for us, it's a property tax levy. For the city of Bellevue, it's a different thing. You guys,
Right.
I don't know how the tax.
So we have property taxing authority, we have impact fees, we have.
Say, but though you have more.
There's a few different things that are all fairly
Taxes, things like.
hand tied by the state, how much we can actually.
But that I can't remember if it's used, but this is what's the range of things you can pursue that.
Yeah, but effectively, there, even if we get a $100 million grant tomorrow and fix all the streets, if we don't have money reserved to put aside every year and maintain and rebuild, in 20 years, we're gonna be looking for a 200. Right? That's, so like, this is really a great conversation. This is why I wanted to talk existing conditions first. So that we can, we have to get from here to there. And the ways we do that is either we tax ourselves more or we increase the tax base within the existing infrastructure, right? So those are the two like broad bucket categories for how what things.
Or it's like, what are you gonna do?
Right, or we will.
Just being not a professional, but just a local person, I think it's really important that as we are looking at getting the community, we have got to get rid of the apathy here. There is a huge amount of apathy in this community, and also, people who are just living here to send their money away, etc. We need to get the community involved so that when we're asking for more taxes or putting that people are going, hell yeah, this is my home. And that is a problem here.
How does that show up, do you think?
I think it shows up in voting. I don't want to pay more taxes. I just live here, this is the bedroom community, whatever. There is that apathy here for sure. I know, because I don't know all my neighbors. And I've been here, I've lived in this valley since 1995. And, yeah, I think John said it at the road came, it was like, yeah, we're the other stepsister. And so a lot of people, I work in the theaters up north, and so it's like, oh, you're in Bellevue? That's a long way away kind of thing, but it's so great. And some of us know that in order to keep this community thriving, we have got to get our neighbors involved. And I think that's where it's got to start there. Or everything that we do is going to go
And
Out there
I
outdoors.
would say you need to do it in a sustained way too. So I developed Ketchum's first housing action plan in 2022. Everyone seems to either have had amnesia about it, or there's just new people. You know, and so then things are coming up and they're like, well, we need a plan, or we need to know the numbers, and it's like, yeah, we went through all that. We've done all this work before, but there's new people that have come to the table now and are just like torpedoing the efforts.
And that will happen here too, because there's people building on big, or, you know, acreages, et cetera, and then they're gonna wanna go, oh, why don't we have this?
Yeah.
No, it's
For sure.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's so true. I mean, yeah, it's why I'm here, because I was one of those people going, what? Why don't we have this? So, yeah, I just.
I mean, that's how they always sound in our mind. Why don't we all say this?
Yeah.
We all think it the same way though.
But just as we are going ahead and planning this, let's keep that in consideration. We've got to start talking to the neighbors. We need to get everybody involved and aware that this is happening. There are people who have invested in that property and they will care.
Well, one of the things I think, go back to something we talked earlier, we do have the opportunity to do is to really illustrate the connections between shared resources among, like, whether it's Haley, Bellevue. We're really interested in trying to expand our relationship with the city. There's a lot of pieces that can, I don't wanna say outside, but they're neighbors, but they're not neighbors as far as people, but they're neighbors within the community that have resources that don't. Like shared sewer, shared water, shared management, things like that.
There's also the situation that we have main counties, so there are people that are not within the city limits. So I know I used to live in Valley, and it was like, well, I don't really want to, or cities, it doesn't really matter. Yet we want to use the facilities, right? We want to be part of that. So as I don't know where the line is with everybody in community south or east west on acreages, et cetera, that still want to be part of this, but they're not in the city limits. And yes, I know. Yeah, there it is, but they also want to be part of this. And, you know, there's that outreach too, because Bradford Road, or Bradford Road. So,
It's a great segue to the second item on the agenda is our Labor Day event outreach. I'm gonna have a booth there. I was going to put together some like chalkboard signage of, you know, kind of, you know, what do you like about Bellevue sort of thing. If you have any specific, you know, fill in the blank, if you have a sentence you'd like me to fill in the blank, I'm gonna throw it out there. Then, yeah, probably put together some maps, gonna do a scavenger hunt based on the existing conditions analysis. So if you see like random numbers, chalk on the streets, that's what's going on. But yeah, people can go wander around and learn about our infrastructure and our.
That's fun.
Anything else that we jumped in? I'm gonna get surveys ready online, like they go live at the same
Well,
time.
I mean, I don't know if it can just be as simple as what's the, you know, the best part about living in Bellevue is.
Yeah.
The most challenging part of living in Bellevue is, I mean, you know, that's. Pretty straightforward.
Something very similar for that.
Yeah.
And as far as the outreach on Labor Day, how does a general resident in Bellevue get to know about that certain event? What's the outreach in terms of getting people to see it, getting people to come out?
I mean, the Labor Day event it's a thing.
Is a big thing,
Right. I'm just kind of assuming, we're gonna have a whole like chunk of cities and stuff, that people can go like check out the fire truck in the city, the marshal's office. And
Like on the parade route, is that what they're
I'm
talking
not sure where we're gonna be set up, but like we're gonna have several booths of city things, so like. I think just kind of as people are floating through and enjoying themselves and participating. All that, they come and talk to me.
and that's Sunday, Monday, correct?
Yes.
I did, we're getting to the point where we're wrapping up, it looks to me like, and we haven't talked about public transportation, like public housing, I'm not sure, it's not Bellevue jurisdictional issue as such, but, we've got a pretty amazing mountain rides, and I wanted to make sure that this committee was invited to, join Mountain Rides at their new facility on August, 22nd in the afternoon. For the, the ribbon cutting, they'll give you a chance to go down and see that new facility down there. It's a pretty amazing building to handle what we will now have with a totally all electric fleet capacity. So it's a pretty exciting, it's free, and we're not getting the numbers of people that I would like to see coming out of Bellevue using that facility. When you take the bus off, and we get a few people regularly, but not the numbers that you would expect considering what it does and what this highway does to us in terms of travel. So it's a great opportunity to see where Mountain Rides is going and what they've done. They've made Bellevue their anchor, and I think that's a critically important thing for Bellevue. Because there's always some contentious with, with Haley. Haley was making some efforts to have this facility built up there, and there was a lot of interest on the part of some people to do that. And we were lucky that Bellevue's that survived that little argument. It's a great facility and it's good service, so everyone's invited to join Mountain Rides down and take a look at it.
Have all of you taken the bus here?
Mhm.
Yeah, good. So I take the bus all the time, but drops me at my theaters where I work, and it is an amazing thing. You can read a book, you do your work. You don't have to worry about getting an outcome on the way home at night. I mean, it's just, yeah. Responsibility, no. But yeah, that's something that we should be proud of also, and we've also gotten like benches now. That's really nice. Yeah.
And this is so sad that after how many years in this operation, we finally, the thing to celebrate is we have benches at the stop. I mean,
Some of the benches in Haley became little art exhibits and stuff, and that's something that we can reach out and do also here, just for community. We have artists, we have local artists that could do things.
I think the board would look at it very favorably.
Really?
But we need to write, and we need to write the right conditions. That's a hard program to start.
And there's an artist here.
Thank you for bringing up that facility. Connor and I were the architects for that. And we did not know about this open house. So, but this afternoon, we do the substantial completion walkthrough.
We're trying to make sure it's done.
Okay. On that note, we are working on a temporary CFO, and you're gonna see hideous, if we do come, mechanical venting, that is, got us a temporary CFO, that's gonna be improved, and it's not gonna look the way you might see it.
What's the CFO?
Certificate of occupancy. So, you know that the blue pipes are gonna look much better in your future. And any shrouding for dark sky light, and follow up. I will find out if they're there at 2 o'clock this afternoon, they're supposed to.
Yeah, we have to check on it. I wanted to add to that topic of, is Mountain Ride, I think it's private in terms of the bus stops. Is city of Bellevue required to maintain those facilities, those bus stops, or no?
Not right, maintain.
Mountain Rides don't.
Okay, so it's all through Mountain Rides.
Yeah, they work on a relationship, they usually put it on public property.
Cause I was wondering too, is as we grow, we want a relationship with Mountain Rides in terms of setting up bus stops, in terms of, and making routes for the future, but maybe that's a little bit down.
Anything else on Howard? Yeah, this was really a note for myself. Call the volunteers, I have a room full of engaged citizen do-gooders. And we have lots of volunteer positions that we need, urban renewal agencies looking for board members, parks committees looking for members, Bellevue Historical Societies looking for board members. If there is a topic you are interested in, you are not hearing, we can make something up for you. It's really just a call for, get paid, even more than you already are, so. Please, let me know if you are interested. And that was all I had for the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Who's in charge of everything for the Labor Day?
There's a committee newly formed, I think they're full, they have two volunteers for that. But they're organizing it, Stephanie Mahoney is doing
Wait, is Stephanie? Okay.
the full.
She's the one who. got on with that. Okay. Awesome.
Brian, is there anything you need us to do between now and the next meeting?
I will actually, get a real complete-ish document, together for this, and I'll put it out to you guys to take a look at, and yeah, I will get, a more thorough, like I said, it's gonna be more of the like human side, existing additions coming soon, and. If anybody would like to volunteer at Labor Day with me, hang out in the booth. Great.
I can't do Sunday, I have, it was on Monday.
For the tax funding question or topic that's gonna come up. I know I'm not in the tax base of the city of Bellevue, because I just out of town. Point being, I never thought about, what do I pay in taxes? How does it compare to somewhere else, the equivalents?
Oh,
And therefore, we're going because. We need to know, I think we would need to know what that is.
I could bring you to the next meeting.
There's homework, it'd be great to see that, because I know from different times and places that property taxes in Wisconsin help support, in the greatest percentage in the country, are top for public education. So I'm going, hey, how does it play out? What are we doing relative to how does the money get spent, and how do we compare it to different areas, just so we can know that we're gonna be in the right money position. You know, what does it look like to a Bellevue citizen relative to whatever our ask is in magnitude?
And what are the restrictions on growth year on year of that revenue? Because in Idaho, like you can't increase, I think, by 3% from property taxes. Even if the assessed value goes up substantially.
But knowing whatever those limitations are,
Right,
those
right.
constraints.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. This, not to get too far into the tax thing. So I was somewhat new to it when I started in this job I have now. I came from the nonprofit sector. It's funny to listen to people talk about taxes in Blaine County, because our taxes are extremely low.
That's what I was assuming.
And relative to other communities.
Yeah.
It's the county, just to give you a little bit of a sense. Unfortunately, Bellevue, Cary pay higher taxes than most of the community. Because the relative property value in Bellevue is lower. That is a bit of a struggle. County pays very low. Sun Valley, I think, is the least.
But they also haven't been taking their increases. They haven't been taking their increases. They're like, you don't need so much.
Property value. But it is kind of an interesting question for our community, and this is what's difficult about the grant thing Brian was alluding to. Bellevue's tax base is difficult because the relative property value is low compared to the rest of the community, but when you look at how grants get decided on, they look at the county as a whole, and our total property value in Blaine County is around $25 billion. Most of that value is north of Eastport. Which is not Bellevue. Right. So it does pose some challenging questions from how far you might be able to put, then you start looking at what are the options, how might grant writing plans, and maybe there are some debtors that can play into it. This is all really interesting conversation for later perhaps.
But if you got.
I've looked at this a lot.
Actually. Be nice to see that.
Right, what's our next meeting?
It'll be October, whatever, the second Tuesday.
We're skipping September.
Yeah, we're getting set up for bi-week or bi-monthly, October 14th. Perfect.
October 14th.
Yep. Been declared back up. Like a hunting with 15.
Very good time.
Same time also.
Yep, yeah, so. Like I said, we had quite a few people tell me they couldn't make this meeting and there's gonna be a practical conflict, so I might. Either revisit it or open up a second meeting that we kind of work through the same stuff over again, but you know. Take them. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Great.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
You too, yeah.